So first off, you're probably wondering, like, what is this thing called tribal? Which was exactly what I thought. And if any of you guys have looked up Randy Gage, he is literally a high school dropout who ended up in jail for armed robbery. And then when he got out of prison, and he also tells the story of being in prison where somebody came to, like, they're just like talking to the inmates, and somebody said to him, "You don't belong here." And I'm just kind of like giving you the cliff notes of this, but he said, I believed him. I just believed him that I didn't belong there. So when he got out of prison, he started a business. And this is like one of the things that I remember hearing him say. I literally have flown down to Florida when I knew that he was speaking at one of the National Speakers Association, they have 2 chapters down in Florida. So I've literally flown down to go hear him speak. And during one of those times, I remember him saying, in the National Speakers Association, they say that it takes about 10 years to hit your first million. And he didn't know that. So he did it in 5 years. So that was one of those comments from him that really was so impactful. And I've followed him. Now, before this week, I knew him, but Randy couldn't have picked me out in a lineup. He couldn't have said that's Laurie-Ann by any means. But after spending a week with him, now he can. So I had just decided, I had learned about this tribal event. And it was, before this year, 4 days of intense work. We're talking 15-hour days. Breakfast is at 8 a.m. The program starts at 9 o'clock sharp. It ends at 10 p.m. And then you're given some homework that you need to show up with completed by the next day. And I looked at this a couple of years ago, and I just thought, I just wasn't ready for it. One, it was a big investment, and I just didn't think that I was personally at the right spot in my personal journey and also my business journey to attend something like this. And then last December, I learned, it kind of like popped up again. And in that, I just thought, I'm ready. And it is a huge investment. It's a $10,000 investment. And I don't say that to impress you, but just for you to understand like what my thought process was. I thought basically, this is like the biggest investment in a 1-week program that I've ever spent before. But I also thought, imagine the type of people that are going to be in the room for this kind of investment. It's not going to be a huge conference. It's going to be very intimate. And so in December, I literally locked in my ticket and was, like, next July, this is what I'm doing. It was part of my personal and business development program for this year. And to be able to spend this time with him, I've gotten to know him a lot better. And all of these 12 other people that I was basically masterminding with from a number of countries, all different levels in their businesses. And a lot of people were alumni. They had been there the year before. And so this is something that he has done. This was his 5th year, and it was going to be his last. I say gonna be because I'm hoping it's not. Because if you know me, I was planting little seeds by the midweek saying, well, you can just, like, do that next year, or we can do that next year. And other attendees would be like, no, like, this is his last year. And I'd be like, shut up, I am doing something here. Just because I had like literally fallen in love with this particular program. So it was life-changing for me, business changing. And to be in the room with those sort of people, we talked about a number of different things. So first off, the first day was good. And good for my business. And the second day, again, this was good. I was getting good value. Third day, I was like, this is hard. And this was when we had to start doing some writing exercises. And if you For those of you who do know Randy, Belinda actually knows him like I do. And he is brilliant when it comes to writing. He's written a number of books and he just thinks differently. And like one of his ideas about the way that he thinks, again, number of books. His idea about books is to get his book out there as much as possible, because those books then turn into people saying, hey, we should have Randy speak at our conference. We should have Randy speak at our for our company. So he has literally called bootleggers, because there are certain countries that don't really follow our copyright laws. He has found the bootleggers and said, I want you to copy my book and sell it. And, he'll say like, you can send me some royalties, but it's more important to him to get his message out there. And so that's a little bit of the market gravity that I want to share with you. So a couple of the things that he talked about. The number one is community. What sort of communities are we building with people? That's your email list. Belinda has a couple of different memberships. Talene has a client-based. Lawrence, you have a client base. Wendy, you also have like people that are doing, like you're creating experiences with people. So those experiences can be in person, they can be virtual, but it's also like our email list. How are we all growing our email list? How are we creating that experience for people so that they feel like they belong to something that is so much bigger than themselves? One of the examples that I want to share with you is my coach, my personal coach, has a group program also. And all of her private clients are allowed to join any group programs that she's running at the time, or any special programs that she has. She just always feels like if you're one of my VIP clients, you should have access to all these other programs. So she has brought this beautiful community of women together. And it is once a month. We all get together for 90 minutes, and it is some sort of topic that she has chosen. That might be a hot topic. She just kind of like hears it on coaching calls over and over and over again. But she's created just like I feel like I have really good friends that I can have these wonderful, deep conversations with, and they're all over the globe. So that's one example of a community. But how are we creating community so that people feel like they're part of something? It's not just Facebook groups. I think that there are other ways that we can build communities and basically build raving fans. If you haven't read that article about 1,000 raving fans, definitely read that. It's about a 10-minute read. That was part of our homework for attending before we even got to Tribal. So I would highly recommend reading that. Number two is the villain. There's a villain that we are helping our people overcome. Who is your villain? And this was something like, that he was asking us. And I just thought, at first I was just like, I don't know. I don't know who my villain is. We're helping people overcome that villain. So if you think of church's villain is what? Type your answer over in the chat. Let's see if you know. What's church and religion? What's their villain? I can at least speak for the Catholic Church because that's what I grew up as. Satan. Thank you.
Somebody posted today and she said, what's your client's Darth Vader?
Yes. That's a good way. That's a great question and a great way to look at this. So, it's like the church has Satan, so like, this is like, we're trying to protect all of our people in the community, in the church, in the synagogue from Satan. So who are, and sometimes I think our people don't even know who the villain is. So for me, and I'm curious, like, while you're listening to this, if you think of like who your villain is, For me, it's bad advice. That's the villain that I'm fighting against. And teaching my people that there's a lot of bad advice out there. So when I said this out loud, people went, huh. They were like, say more. So the bad advice that I see a lot on the internet is give free sessions, have more coffee chats, write more social media posts, and make sure you spend a shit ton of time, engaging on other people's posts or in groups or on Instagram. And I think all of that's bad advice, because speaking's the fastest way to grow your business. What other way can you be right in front of people, sharing tips and information? It's like a group sales call, because everybody who's in that audience who said yes to buying a ticket, yes to spending time in that room, is most likely one of they're either your ideal client or they can refer you to your ideal client. Now, Wendy, this is exactly what you do. You gather people in parties and share with them all the wonderfulness that you teach. And then you're helping your host make money along with yourself. And then that's like a captive audience that then becomes like potential for more parties. Talene's doing something very similar with her. She has a store, a spa now. I was about to say store, but she is like, how do I get more people into my spa? So she's having networking groups, networking events. And so she's able to speak to them. So I think that there's a lot of bad advice. So that's something that I'm starting to write in my content, is about all the bad advice that's out there. So I'm just labeling it, because I think a lot of people who are my ideal clients don't even realize that a lot of the information that's out there is actually bad advice. And there's so many ways to build a business. There's not just one way. There are so many ways to build a business. And I think just reminding people that you get to build it your way, not by whatever some of the influencers say, or somebody says like, oh, here's a new strategy and the latest tactic, for this week is X, Y, and Z. There's all sorts of ways to do this. But I do think it's about finding that way that feels good to you and sticking to it. The next one, your expertise, and stepping more into your expertise. Something that I've said over and over again is that clients hire experts. So what are you an expert in? And owning that expertise. So along with this expertise comes a little bit of words. What are you known for? So if I say the word Nordstrom, what do you think of? Let's see if anybody can get this one. This one I thought was easy. Nordstrom is known for service. Mercedes is known for engineering. What's Volvo? Nordstrom, a failed expansion into Canada. Well, wasn't that also Target? Yes, it's exactly. Volvo is safety. Thank you, Belinda. Federal Express. They got 2 words.
Get there on time.
Overnight delivery. Overnight. So what is your word or 2 words? So this is something that if you haven't thought about this, to really like to spend some time thinking about this. So when I shared mine, people went, ooh. And so my words are authority positioning. Because there's a lot of people out there, and I can think of 3 off the top of my head, people that they are women, all 3 of them are women that I'm thinking of, that help people write speeches, that help people step more into that spotlight. But I have always felt that when I started doing this, that mine was more than that. It wasn't just writing speeches. It was helping my clients be positioned as an expert. So when I shared those words, I mean, the way that the audience reacted, I was like, huh, okay. Like I was on to something. You're like, sometimes you just have to play with some words, throw out some content out there, in an engaging way, just to see like, how are people going to resonate with this? Okay, like I'm just reading what this, she blew up the DMs. Yes. So do you guys have any words for yourself? Have you ever thought of this? Not yet. But something to think about. Profit planning. Yeah, I would have thought of that for you, Belinda. Education, inspiration, cash flow. But cash flow, that's the name of one of your programs, isn't it?
It's called Cash Flow CEO.
Cash flow CEO. Okay. See, at least like it's in my mind.
Yeah, right? It's stuck.
I gotta shut this door. It's like not shut properly. Yeah. So I would say cash flow definitely works for you because again, like this is something that I know about you.
Right. Thanks.
Order out of chaos. I almost think you need to shorten it. Women's empowerment. Talene, I want you to dig deeper, only because that's used a lot. That's used a lot. So finding something that you want to be known for, that will help, that's just like we're all in a lane, but I want you to even have your lane even more fine-tuned. That's not really the right way to word this, but really like nobody's in like, there's a lot of speaking coaches out there. That's all there is to it. But how many of them are doing authority positioning? None that I know of. That's why that's what I'm owning. I'm owning that sort of authority. So then the other thing that he talked about, and granted, like he talked about a lot of things, and it was also like part of the experience, but he also talks a lot about market gravity. And I've never heard anybody talk about market gravity like he was talking about it, about how we are constantly putting out our information, our thought leadership out into the world in multiple different formats. Now I looked at, like some people who have been blogging and some people who have been podcasting for years, and I just think like, wow, like they've got 600, 1,000 podcasts or, like a couple of thousand blog posts. And we could all like compare ourselves and just say, yeah, if I had only started, or blogs are so passe and like, who cares? I'll do something else. But he was really talking about like writing and having writing being part of your market gravity. And it just made me think about like, what kind of content are we putting out there? Because there are blogs, there's audio and video and speaking and some sort of, events if you might be hosting them, and writing books. I mean, like the list goes on of all the information, the ways that people can be learning from you. I mean, I've written a couple of books and I've sort of threatened to write another one, but this week has like really inspired me that I really should be writing another book. And writing, he said, is like the one skill he said that he really tapped into was learning how to write and articulate your thoughts. And he really encouraged like all of us to be doing this, that I actually left with the goal of, I need to write at least 15 minutes a day. Whether it's a blog post, whether that's going to be, like I'm writing like maybe the show notes or writing an email, something that is just like constantly getting my thought leadership out there into the world. And I love to podcast. I like to host things like this, so I might be doing more of this. But podcasting, he mentioned, I guess there was an interview on Tim Ferriss where he had the founder of Spotify talking about audio content. I haven't listened to this episode entirely yet, but apparently like the gist is that audio content, like video content, is searchable now. That audio content is going to be very searchable in the very near future. So are you getting on podcasts as a guest, or maybe you want to host your own? Or what other kind of audio can you be sharing out there as well? So I looked at the rate that I'm going with my podcasts, I probably record on average 2.5 hours a month. Most of my episodes are solo episodes, and then I usually have like 1 or 2 guests maybe a month. So it's about 2.5 hours. So between now and the end of the year, that would mean about 10 hours. So I set the goal to double that. So I want to have like 20 hours of podcasts that's out there. I mean, my podcast also goes out on YouTube, so I'm not going to consider that double dipping is fair. So I want to get out 20 hours by the end of the year. So I did already tell my VA this, and her eyes just kind of like bugged out. But I just wanted to prepare her. I'm also a manifesting generator for all those human design people. Yes. Wendy, you're a generator, aren't you? Isn't that what you said earlier? And my VA is also a manifesting generator. So I'm not sure if that's a good thing. I don't know yet. But that's my plan, is to get more content out there and to start finally blogging. I mean, when I spoke in leadership, I wrote a lot of blogs. I wrote a lot of articles for companies. So I still have access to those. So I may bring some of that into this and just kind of like revamp it for the way that I'm talking the topic, excuse me, for my specialty now, because leaders are speakers and speakers are leading people. They're leading them, they're influencing them. So I think it really all ties together. The other thing, and I think most of you know my story about my first husband, and I told that story for the first time to a group of people. I was actually having lunch with one of the other attendees who is a keynote speaker. And we were just like talking about so where'd you come from and what's going on? And I just told her where I came from. And she asked me at the end of lunch, "Are you telling that story?" And I said, "No," because I didn't want people to look at me after I told the story and be like, "Oh, the poor widow." And she had a fabulous perspective of that everybody has a story, which is something that I believe, that everybody has a story. And some of those stories need to be told. So why wasn't I telling my story? So during the story portion of this, Randy picked somebody and said, "What's your saddest story? What's your happiest story?" And wouldn't you know, he picked me and said, "Mirabito, tell a story." And I just looked at him and said, "The story that needs to be told that I haven't told yet." And I gave the Cliff Notes version of my story. And I had a few people in tears, but more importantly, the next day, a couple of people came up to me and one person said, "I look at you differently." And another person said, "You sharing your story, I had a transformation." So that just reminds me, that I need to be telling this story. So I am going to be molding it and crafting it so that it fits the situation and I come up with all the right lessons for people. But we all have a story, and we should all be telling our story. And the more everyday your story is, because Belinda and I have been to NSA conferences, and they'll have the keynote speaker who climbed Mount Everest, without oxygen, just to add to it. Those are like those people, like those are amazing things that people have done. But it's also like most of the people that are in the audience have never climbed Mount Everest, and it's not even on their top 10 list. They have no intentions of climbing Mount Everest. So me going through, like being a young widow, I mean, that's something that a lot of people can relate to. The way that everybody here has started their business, people want to hear that. They want to hear those everyday struggles and how you overcame them so that they have ideas and they have hope so that they can get over their struggles. So that was just a few of the things that I hope that I wanted to share. And some of the stuff that you'll be seeing from me is more audio podcasting. I'm going to be adopting this blogging. I never considered myself to be a good writer. But I really do understand the value of being able to write with clarity will also help you speak with clarity. Being able to really share that information from paper to actually verbally sharing it out into an audience. So these are just some of those basic skills. And yes, there's all this talk about ChatGPT, but if you can't give it good prompts, so there's clarity, it can't spit out anything that's even remotely close. But nothing is really going to replace like your words, your thought leadership, your stories, and learning how to craft those stories. So I just want to encourage you all. So those are some of my goals. And also the other thing that I learned that I forgot to write down was he talked a lot about lead magnets also, premium lead magnets. And I walked away from last week with like, wow, there's so many people who say like have a lead magnet. And I walked away with the idea of who says I can only have one? Like, why can't I have a number of different lead magnets so that it just hits people at different spots. I've got video. I have a video, I'll call it a lead magnet, free video course. I've got, obviously, like I've been podcasting for 2 years now. So the idea of having a private playlist as a lead magnet so that somebody can just like listen if they, and I've got stuff over on YouTube. So there's all different ways that people learn from us. So not being so set in like, it's got to be a PDF. It's got to be a checklist. It doesn't. There's lots of people who learn in all different ways. And I think for us to have those different forms, those different lead magnets, so that people can learn in different ways. So any questions, thoughts, or comments, feel free to unmute. Lawrence, you look very deep in thought back in that chair.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of what would be my client's Darth Vader.
Mm.
It's kind of the thing I'm almost tempted just to pop into Facebook and a couple other places and just ask that question.
Yeah. And I love that idea, just engaging other people and figuring out like, yeah, what do they think the Darth Vader is? But keep in mind
it's also a great email to send out.
But also look at your testimonials. See if you might see them there as well. Because I also do believe that a lot of people don't even know what that Darth Vader is, what that villain is. Which is why, like, I'm naming mine Bad Advice.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even think most people would say it was bad advice. They don't realize that they're hearing a lot of bad advice.
Well, that's endemic in a lot of, like, as an accountant, Belinda and I have heard lots of people getting bad advice.
What
Yeah,
about,
of course. I was trying to think for you too, Lawrence. I think it probably depends on who your people are and like what level they're at. So it's like, do they have messy books? Do they not have any books? Like, is like just the piles of receipts. I don't, you know what I mean? Like to
It's,
think
it's
about,
like the client today who paid me twice, and I told him, no, you paid me twice today. And he says, that's why I have somebody like you working with me.
right. So I was trying to think about it for you. I mean, I work with a bunch of bookkeepers a lot of times. I think I'll share mine, what I came up with, and then maybe some of these will work. So the first one I came up with was bank balance decision making.
Mm.
So it's like when you don't know your numbers, right? Then all you're left with is like your credit card limit and your bank balance. And that's how you're supposed to make all the decisions in your business. Right.
mm,
And so it's like, because you don't know your number, like you don't really have any facts and you don't know, like my biggest thing is around planning, right? So it's helping you get out of that reactive nature to be able to say like, okay, what do I want to make happen each month, right? And it's like if you fail to plan, you're planning to fail, kind of an idea, you know? The other thing is scarcity, I think is probably a villain. Like I think that there's a lot of, Mike McAllowitz calls it like entrepreneurial poverty, but it's like when we don't know our numbers and we don't know how to manage the money, we work a lot and we work really hard and we lose the time with our family, but we don't have as much to show for it as we would want or expect. And so we end up in this like just
Hamster wheel.
feeling broke, whether we are broke or not, we just feel broke. And I think of it like it's like a well that you've been digging and you never learned how to pull the water out of it. And that's my
mm,
job is to like be able to show you, like how to find the profits from all of the work that you're doing, kind of thing. And the other thing I've been saying lately, so and it's a fine line. I don't want to make them sound like a villain, but I feel like a lot of business coaches, a lot of people think they're hiring business coaches and they're actually hiring marketing coaches. And then what happens is they never learn how to actually run a business and how to understand the money that underlies the business, right? Money is like the fuel for your business. But a lot of people say they're business coaches, but they're actually helping you to um, get more followers and write better
mhm.
emails. And sometimes they're sales coaches too. So it's like, how do you sell better? But they're not actually helping you understand, like, do I have the right offers? Do I have a plan so that I'm heading in like the right direction versus like feeling like I'm throwing spaghetti on the walls and I'm looking to see what sticks and it's very tiring. So I talk about that too, but I struggle because coaches are my clients, so I struggle a little bit. I don't mean to like badmouth business coaches, but
No.
I just want people to like not feel bad if they feel like they have a business coach and yet they still don't understand the money side of their business.
And
See what I mean? So, yeah.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that, Belinda, because I think, like when like somebody's coming into the coaching space, and it's like, well, people get what a business coach is, and they
Yeah,
want a
but
business coach, but then like, oh, like I'll hire the marketing coach later.
oh, I find it's the opposite. I mean, I find that they hire the marketing coach thinking that the marketing coach is going to help them with their business, actually, is what I see.
Oh, okay,
So,
okay.
so it's like I'm in programs, like even I feel like I can say it. So I'm in Rachel Rogers' club, right? She attracts a lot of amazing women. She wrote a book called We Should All Be Millionaires. And she talks about making $1 million, but like you go through her planning and there's no spreadsheet. Like there's nothing to actually say, okay, great, you have a goal of making $50,000 by the end of the year. Well, what are you going to sell? How are you going to do it? If you sell that, what are your expenses going to be? And then are you going to make any profit? And then are you going to be able to pay yourself what you want? Like my lead magnet is a pay yourself calculator because people don't know how to set their goals so that they get paid. So that's why they end up in this like feeling broke because they're like an afterthought, like or paying ourselves is often an afterthought. So I'm trying to kind of open people's eyes to like, you don't have to live like this.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Kind of a thing. Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, one thing I often run into, and so you're all got training as coaches to be a coach, but how many of you got training to run a business?
Right. Right. And especially handle the money side of the business, right? Because there are people helping you with some system stuff or some automation stuff, but like actually, and I think there's also a big misunderstanding around the bookkeeper's role, the accountant's role, and then their own role. Because I think a lot of people think, oh, it's okay, I have a bookkeeper, like I'm all set. And my whole point is like the bookkeeper can track what happened. Most bookkeepers don't have enough information to help you be educated enough in moving forward. And like, what do you need to be focusing on? And, people don't know, like, how much money do I have that's already committed to come in? It's like, maybe you have a goal to make 10K a month. And if you actually look, like, you have payment plans or people that are committed for the first 7, and you're like, thinking you have to create 10. It's like, no, you just have to make sure the 7 come in, and then you only have to sell 3. But people don't know, and they live in so much. That's why I said scarcity, but it's like, it's almost more like confusion, or like they just uncertainty or something, so I feel like it's something in that. I'm still trying to get better at explaining it, but maybe there's some ideas in there for you. Lawrence attended one of my workshops once, or like a presentation I did with Marisa Corcoran, so I know a little bit about his business too.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's all part of it, you know what I mean? Us just getting better at articulating how we help people.
I'm just wondering what Wendy's take is.
Yeah.
Okay, how about you?
I'm just in awe about this presentation. I really enjoyed it and that. So thank you. So I was thinking about my customers and their villains. And they always tell me that they don't have time to do meals for their family, so they're doing the fast food and that. So I think time and social media is their villains, because they have time to always be on Facebook and Instagram and that. And so if they have time to play around on that, they have time to cook a meal for their family.
What
Well,
about
my business is Pampered Chef.
What about expectations?
Expectations
To be the good mom, the good wife, like you're home cooking all of these meals. When I'm thinking of God, what was that woman's name? Sandra something.
Oh, Sandra Lee.
Yeah, she was like the semi homemade woman who had a show on the Food Network when they actually cooked on the Food Network.
Yeah. Yes.
But what about expectations?
Yeah, expectations is definitely a villain. And I don't think it's just moms that have to cook. I think dads, and I think kids can pitch in as well. And we were assigned growing up a day of the week that we had to cook.
Ooh.
And you can really get a meal on the table for 30 minutes. You really can. And so that's kind of my take.
Okay. So like me and my husband eat completely 2 different meals. I'm more the vegetable and some sort of protein, a salad, and he's more like, I'll just have pizza, or I'll just eat I'll grill just a bunch of meat and I'll just eat that, so I gave up, cooking for the 2 of us a long time ago, because of that, hey, that makes him happy. That's fine. But I have this obsession with vegetables. and Talene knows this, like she'll even let, she'll confirm this is what I'm trying to say. Like I literally have this love affair with vegetables, and I'm so happy when I have a good salad. But as some, like, I mean, I've bought a lot of Pampered Chef. I have a lot of Pampered Chef like in my kitchen, but you're right. It's like, is having the right tools does make things easier.
Yeah. Yeah. And not only having the right tools, but knowing how to use them.
Yeah, knowing how to use them, not just having stuff.
Around here, time isn't the problem because Gail's nocturnal, but it's the planning. It's like, what am I making? I don't know yet. Gail, it's 9 o'clock, like.
Yeah, you got to know.
Yeah.
Talene, do you have, are you able to speak wherever you are? That you got any other words? Good.
Let's see. I'm hiding away in the bonus room, away from the children and the family. No, this was very enlightening, and I think I'm at the beginning part of my journey, trying to figure out what my niche will be to speak about, because even though, and I know Belinda asked, I'm an esthetician and a makeup artist, primarily I focus on helping women have great looking headshots. So, which is really important. I think my goal about speaking and trying to find somebody's pinch point that they're going to want to either hire me for a speaking engagement or even in the future coaching is more related to not being their authentic self, because I think society and certainly social media creates this image that we all have to look alike. And, if you're not, I'm just going to put it out there, blonde, thin, and wearing Chanel, like you're not successful. And I think that's so wrong. So many of us have other gifts. And I started noticing it in the realm of like, well, people don't take care of themselves. Myself, I'm an esthetician. So that's why I opened my spa. So I'm really curious about taking everything that you learned from this tribal experience and what that's going to do for you, Laurie-Ann, to create new programs for us as your clients, to jump into, so that maybe we're not going to go to a big tribal event yet. But why can't we go to your tribal event?
Right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So I'll also share with you, towards the end, Randy did say, so if there was another tribal event, raise of hand of who would say yes if it was 7 days, because normally it's 4 days. He says, I'll make it 7 days with breaks, with like maybe like an afternoon off, so they weren't all 15-hour days. He goes, and in an exotic location, because he loves to travel. So I did raise my hand because I had a great time. And in all honesty, I was telling my husband, I said, he like put it out there, and he said exotic location. I said, I guess it depends on where the exotic location is. I mean, if I have to like go like fly across the globe to go like to Fiji, and the voice of reason said to me, so you see the world. It's just like, okay, thank you. I needed to hear that. So yes, you guys are all in my community, and all the people who are going to be watching this replay, you're all in my community. So you're going to see me grow over the next 12 months, because Randy will be doing monthly webinars with us, whoever's still joining in the group. But also I do have another way that you can learn from me. I am actually doing a free masterclass called Craft Your Onstage Catchphrase. This is something that I typically exclusively teach inside In-Demand Signature Speech. So I'm actually going to do it as a fun masterclass, because I've had a lot of my students who say, wow, when they learn their catchphrase, which is like a repeatable phrase that you can use everywhere in your content. But I also teach it, since I'm teaching people to craft their signature speech, that like you're using this repeatable phrase throughout your presentation. And you all know what mine is, because you've heard me say it again and again and again. Speaking is the fastest way to grow your business. And that's what I say over and over and over again. So let me share with you. If you just want to learn a little bit more about it, sign up for it. It's in a couple of weeks and it's going to be a lot of fun. So this is something that, yes, came out of the tribal event. It's just, and as a manifesting generator, I'm just like, I get an idea and I just run with it. And I'm pretty sure all the links work, which is a good sign for us manifesting generators, because sometimes we make a lot of mistakes on our way to the finish line. But if you have any questions, one, you're going to be sent out a replay for this. And if you have any questions about the Catchphrase Masterclass, feel free just to reach out to me. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have. But it is going to be Tuesday, the 22nd at 1 p.m. and also Wednesday, the 23rd at 6 p.m. So any final questions or thoughts or aha moments you want to share? Thank you, Belinda.
What do you feel like made the Randy event so transformational for you?
Oh, one of the things for me was, I feel like there was like one, like how brilliant he is. He's a very smart man. I know who he hangs around with too. Like I know who he masterminds with. So that also was part of what also pushed me to go and do this. I think just being in the room also, one, he created a community. Some of these people are really good friends of mine now. And I just see like these relationships are just going to blossom. Being able to, I think it really like solidified, like, stay on your path, Laurie-Ann. Keep doing what you're here to do. Instead of, am I launching correctly? Am I launching the way that everybody tells me to launch? That's why I kind of said that in the beginning, there's so many ways to build a business. And I think a lot of people get so confused, again, like back to exactly what you do, Belinda. We get so confused and like people are trying to do all of the things. And you know what? I am just going to, I'm focused on my path that's right in front of me. Embracing my manifesting generator. There was a human design expert there. And I think, I even said to her, I said, you are the one person who impacted everybody here, because everybody sent her, she ran everybody's chart, including Randy's, which was really funny. And she just one of the funny things, like Belinda, I'm sure you'll appreciate that. From the back of the room, she's like, Randy, your chart says you're very intuitive. Like, would you say that you're intuitive? And he was like, yes. I mean, it was so.
It's kind of like you don't need a chart to know that Randy's intuitive, but yes, like yeah, I can tell you that, and I don't know astrology, but yes, or psychic, or whatever.
So I think just, I don't think I see how transformative it is. It's just like one of these things, like I came home and I'm just like, I have a lot to do.
Well, you sound a little more like at peace with the journey is how you're coming up to me. I don't know what caused that, but that's sort of what I was trying to tease out, like a little more like, and I think you said it when it's like you're more on purpose, you know what I mean? Like keep doing what you're here to do kind of an idea versus being caught up in the details, I think, of the
Mm.
doing. It's an important distinction, you know?
Yeah.
And because I think it's often it's our purpose that helps us. As long as our purpose is stronger, we don't have to get caught up in the fear and the doubt. But when we aren't so clear about where we're going, right, then we're like drawn back into the fear and the doubt black hole. You know what I mean? But if
Yes.
we just
Yes.
stay with our blinders of like the difference that we want to make, and I think that in-person events is still the way for you. I mean, I don't know if you still do, if you do them anymore, but like that's how I originally grew my business, like
Mhm.
2007, 8, 9 kind of thing. And I just rented out like a place in Boston, you know what I mean? And just like every month I just held workshops. I feel like you're so good in person that
I
you could
agree,
still
Belinda.
do something. Yeah. Or even quarterly and people would fly in for it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that you did that, but
I
but I
totally
Oh, yeah.
agree. I've
and she
done.
knows because I said it to her not too long ago. Like, I would love to see you up on a stage soon.
Yeah, yeah. I
So,
feel like it's, I mean, because it definitely got me more comfortable. So I would kind of do like the other people's rooms. So I'd go and I'd speak at all different events that I could, and then I'd kind of bring people back to attend my workshop once a month. This was before I knew anything. I just did, you know what I mean? I didn't really know like how to do it. And I lived in Southie, and there was like a not a town hall, but like, you know, a rec center kind of a thing. And they had one nice room, and I just rented out the nice room. And once a month, I just held an event there. And then I'd had anywhere from 4 people to 40 people. And I sold my like $3,600 program. And I did that for like a couple years, you know, and built a $100,000 business that way, you know. And I just think that you're so good in person. I would just love to see you do more
Thank
in
you. Thank
person.
you.
And now everybody is willing to fly, I think, again, and you could draw people in from online and different places. Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate that a lot. Thank you. As somebody who used to go and see you speak too.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, maybe you gave me one of those. I don't remember.
I don't know
Yeah.
about those, but I remember a couple of others, and you were just like, "Could you videotape this for me?" And
Oh, yeah, yeah. I
you
spoke at
had your
NSA
camera and
locally. Maybe it was
everything.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah, totally.
yeah.
Yeah,
Belinda and
okay.
I have known each other from National Speakers Association for God
Like from the beginning.
years.
Yeah, I've been doing this for 16 years, so something, you know, 14 maybe. I don't know, a long time. Yeah,
A very long time.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. Any other
I have to
questions?
run. Oh,
Yes.
sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. No.
Anybody have any other questions or comments? Any ahas you want to share?
I'm just so excited for your enthusiasm. I feel like you were personally ready for to receive. I believe you were ready to receive. And one of the things that I've noticed about you, knowing you for these years, is every time you receive, you bring something amazing to the rest of us. And I'm just so excited to see what's next and, you know, be a part of it in any way possible, because I have always felt that there's a trickle down effect in a sense. What you learn and glean and then put your, put your position on, put your uniqueness to the way that you're able to meet the rest of us who are your, your clients. I feel that then we have these fiery moments that we are able to run with, and bring to our businesses. And there's more people here that are being impacted than collectively we could even realize, beyond the 5 of us on this room and the others that will listen to the video. There's so many other people behind us who are going to be positively impacted by what you're going to coach and train and teach us.
Thank you. Thank you. That ripple effect. Yes. Okay, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. And I hope you all have a fabulous rest of the evening.
Thank you, Laurie-Ann. Take care. Bye, everybody. Nice to see you. Take care.